Hello, my name's Kathryn. I'm a first-year HGLO student, and I just had the pleasure of going to Panama during spring break for the HGLO Panama Study Abroad trip. And I wanted to talk about one day that I felt like really encapsulates everything we did in Panama, which is the very first full day that we spent in Panama itself. So, day one in Panama was comprised of three main activities. First, we visited the Panama Canal. Then we went to Lake Gatun and did a monkey boat tour, and Lake Gatun is a man-made lake that runs through part of the Panama Canal. And then the final thing was we went to the old quarter of Panama City, the historic quarter, and it's called Casa Viejo, and we had a city tour there. And the reason I say I feel like this really encapsulates the entire program is because it was a mixture of just having a lot of fun, but also learning about history and important global issues. So, for example, when we visited the Panama Canal, we learned how it's so important for globalization. Nearly 5% of all maritime trade passes through the canal yearly. But we also learned how it's working to be more sustainable. So in 2016, a new expanded version of the canal was opened that could hold larger ships. But instead of using more water, it uses 7% less water than the old version of the canal. So even though it grew, it's more sustainable. So even though as globalization increases, so does the canal is also working to be more sustainable. Another example is how when we went on the monkey boat tour, we had an amazing time and we saw 3 out of 4 of Panama's native monkey species, but we also learned how bad mass tourism is for Panama's environment. Because during COVID, so many of the monkeys that we visited or in the region, they started starving because there were no boat tours, and they relied so much on these boat tours coming and them being fed by the tour guide, so then the monkeys would come on their boat. And recently Panama made that illegal, feeding the monkeys, but unfortunately when we visited there, while our tour guide was not feeding the monkeys, nearly everyone around us was. And then finally, during our guided tour of Casa Viejo, we learned so much about Panama's history. So from its early Spanish colonialism to later the conflict between the U.S. and the Panamanians over the U.S.'s Panama Canal Zone, and then to the modern era, and about how Panama is a really multicultural and diverse nation. So, to sort of sum up day one, it was the perfect introduction to some of the themes we'll be talking about through the entirety of our trip. So, at the Panama Canal, we talked about globalization and trade, and then sustainability. And we also talked about sustainability while on the monkey boat tour. And then in Casa Viejo and on the city tour, we just talked about so much of Panama's history, and a lot of that knowledge would be really important to some of the stuff we do later on the trip. So it was a super fun day and a great way to start off our trip in Panama. So I had a really amazing time going to Panama with HGLO. It was super fun, but I also learned so much about Panama's history and culture and all the important global challenges it faces that I had no idea about prior to the trip. And also, I just wanted to point out, this is something I bought at the Embraer Indigenous community, which is one of the trips we do in Panama, and that was super amazing. So for anyone thinking about going to Panama with HGLO, you will not regret that decision. It's such an amazing opportunity, and I really, really, really recommend it. So thank you, and if you do go, I hope you have so much fun. Thank you.